Welcome to Monk's Temple. You arrive here carrying a quiet question, one that surfaces not in words but in the breath you take when no one is looking, in the pause before you pick up your phone to fill the silence, in the subtle fatigue behind your ambition. It is the question of the space within. The space that remains when everything else falls away. We live in a world that worships the tangible, the measurable, the filled-to-capacity schedule. We have been carefully taught that emptiness is lack, that stillness is stagnation, and that a quiet mind is an unproductive mind. So we build. We accumulate. We curate identities like exhibits in a museum of self. The thought of walking through the echoing halls of our own awareness, without the commentary of achievement or the background music of distraction, feels unsettling. It feels, paradoxically, like work. But what if you've been working on the wrong thing? What if the endless effort to become someone, to secure yourself against the uncertainties of life, is the very strain that's exhausting you? And what if the cure is not another method, another self-improvement strategy, but a radical permission to stop? To meet the silence you've been running from, and discover it is not a void, but a sanctuary. This is not about adopting a new belief system. It is an experiment in awareness. We will walk through stories from across the world, insights from modern science, and metaphors drawn from the fabric of ordinary life. We will gently unpack the architecture of your own inner world, not to demolish it, but to see where the windows have been boarded up, where fresh air has been waiting to circulate all along. Our journey will not be linear. We will not march from problem to solution. Healing does not work that way. It is more like the tide coming in. It touches every part of the shore in its own rhythm, sometimes receding, sometimes advancing, but always, eventually, reaching everywhere. So let us begin, not with a step forward, but with a gentle settling in. Right here. Right now. Deep in the vaults of a Viennese museum, there exists a marvel of the 18th century, a massive, intricate clockwork orchestra. Built by a reclusive master craftsman, it contains hundreds of tiny brass figures, violinists, cellists, a conductor. All driven by an unfathomably complex system of gears, springs, and levers. When wound, the entire assembly whirs to life. The figures move with jerky precision, bows sawing at strings that produce thin, metallic notes. It is a spectacle of relentless, automated motion. The curator told me a secret. The masterpiece is not the machinery in motion. It is a tiny, deliberate flaw the craftsman built into the heart of the central timing gear. A single tooth is missing. Every 27 minutes, as the gear turns, there is a click, a pause, a silence lasting exactly 1 second, before the mechanism lurches forward again. The curator said, without that missing tooth, the friction would build. The brass would heat. Within a month of constant winding, the gears would fuse together and the entire orchestra would cease, forever. That 1 second of nothing is what allows the everything to continue. Consider your mind. Is it not a kind of clockwork orchestra? Thoughts like little brass figures, moving to the rhythm of, what's next, what if, remember when. Plans, regrets, and rehearsals clicking and whirring with relentless, automatic energy. We wind this mechanism every morning with caffeine and ambition, and we fear the silence, the pause, the missing tooth. We believe if the thinking stops, we stop. But the Viennese craftsman knew a deeper truth. Constant engagement is not sustainability, it is a recipe for a breakdown. The friction of uninterrupted thought creates a background heat we call anxiety, stress, and burnout. That heat is the signal. It is the warning that your inner mechanism is missing its necessary pause. The space you are learning to welcome is not a breakdown of the orchestra. It is the missing tooth. It is the designed, essential nothing that prevents the everything from destroying itself. In that 1-second pause, the heat dissipates. The metal cools. The next movement begins not from a place of mounting strain, but from a moment of recalibrated ease. Your fear of stillness is the fear that your orchestra will stop forever. But the truth is the opposite. Without the regular, intentional pauses, it inevitably will. If this idea, of the missing tooth in your own clockwork, strikes a chord, consider subscribing to Monk's Temple. By subscribing, you choose to honor those pauses. You join a community learning that the silence between the notes is not empty, it's essential. Let's continue this exploration together. To understand why we flee quiet, we must look not to philosophy, but to physiology. Your nervous system is not just a passenger in your life, it is the fundamental lens through which you experience reality. It operates on a simple, ancient principle: seek safety, avoid threat. For our ancestors, silence in the jungle was often the most dangerous signal of all. The moment birds stopped chirping, insects went quiet, indicating a predator was near. Our modern nervous system still carries this primal wiring. When external noise drops away, the TV, the traffic, the conversation, the internal environment becomes predominant. And for a system conditioned to constant stimulation, this shift can feel like that jungle silence. A prelude to exposure, to being seen by something we cannot name. But the predator today is rarely a physical one. It is the accumulated, unfelt emotional material we've been cleverly avoiding with our daily noise. Neuroscience shows that unresolved emotional experiences don't just vanish. They register in the body as somatic markers, patterns of muscle tension, breath holding, visceral sensation. The brilliant, protective strategy of the mind is to keep attention occupied with external or mental noise, so it doesn't have to drop into the body and feel what's stored there. Think of it like this: you have a room in your house where you've been hastily stuffing things for years, unopened letters, old clothes, broken objects. You're having guests, so you close the door and turn up the music in the living room. The mess is still there, but out of sight and out of mind. Silence is turning off the music. Suddenly, you become aware of the closed door. You sense the chaos behind it. The impulse is to turn the music back on, louder. This is why the first encounter with true stillness can be intensely uncomfortable, even physically agitating. It's not that silence creates pain. It's that it removes the anesthetic. The body begins to speak of its stored tensions. A tightness in the chest that's been there for months, a hollow feeling in the gut, a vague restlessness in the limbs. The mind, interpreting this through its ancient, safety threat lens, screams, danger. Go back to the noise. This is the crossroads. Most people turn back here, concluding that silence is harmful. But the courageous step is to understand this discomfort not as a sign of danger, but as a sign of thawing. It is the sensation of feeling returning to a limb that has gone numb. The pins and needles are not an attack, they are the proof of life reawakening. The healing space, therefore, begins by retraining the nervous system's association. It teaches the body, through gentle, repeated exposure, that silence is not the prelude to a predator, but the context for restoration. It is the open field, not the hiding place. And in that field, what you feared would attack you can finally be met, not as a monster, but as a forgotten part of yourself that just wants to be acknowledged. In the windswept highlands of Scotland, there are ancient walls called dry stone dikes. They crisscross the hills, built centuries ago without mortar, cement, or any binding agent. Their strength lies entirely in the art of placement. A master diker spends hours, sometimes days, selecting each irregular stone, turning it in his hands, and finding the one exact position where its unique shape fits perfectly against its neighbors, transferring weight and creating mutual stability. The wall is not a rigid structure imposed on the landscape, it is a conversation with it, a weaving of found elements into a resilient whole. I worked with an old diker once. He said something I'll never forget. Most people look at a pile of stones and see a problem to be solved, or a mess. I look and see a potential relationship. The wall isn't strong because I forced the stones. It's strong because I find where they want to rest. The gaps between them aren't weaknesses. They're what let the wind through. A mortared wall in a gale will crack and fall. My wall, he said, patting the sturdy, centuries-old structure, sings with the wind. It lets the pressure pass right through it. We try to build our identities, our lives, like mortared walls. We use the cement of, I should be, I must become, they expect me to. We try to create a seamless, solid, defensible structure. And when the gales of life come, change, loss, criticism, this rigid wall develops cracks. We feel we are breaking because our construction is too brittle. The practice of inner space is the art of the dry stone diker. It is the patient, compassionate work of looking at the raw materials of your experience, your traits, your past, your flaws, your talents, your fleeting emotions, not as problems to be cemented over, but as unique stones. Your awareness is the diker's act, learning to find where each part naturally rests. Anger is not something to mortar over with forced positivity, it is a heavy, dark stone that needs to be placed low in the wall, where its weight becomes a foundation. A moment of joy is a lighter, brighter stone that can sit higher, catching the light. And the gaps, the spaces between the stones, those are not failures of construction. They are the essential spaces where the wind of experience whistles through without building up destructive pressure. They are the moments of not knowing, of pause, of quiet awareness. They are what make the structure flexible, alive, and incredibly durable. Your suffering is the sound of a mortared wall cracking. The peace you seek is the song of a dry stone dike, singing softly as it holds the line between the fields of your heart, letting everything pass through that needs to. We live in the golden age of the fixer self. An entire industry is built on the quiet, insistent premise that you are a project under construction. From productivity hacks to mindfulness apps promising better focus, from diets that pledge a new you to spirituality that markets higher consciousness, the message is the same: you are not okay yet. But you could be, if you just do this. This is the tyranny of becoming. It places peace, wholeness, and worth in a future that never arrives, because the moment one goal is reached, the horizon of self-improvement simply expands. The fixer within us is like a gardener who, upon seeing a wild meadow, only sees weeds. They rush in with shears and herbicides, desperate to create orderly rose beds. In the process, They trample the native flowers, poison the soil, and exhaust themselves, all while missing the stunning, complex beauty of the ecosystem that was already there, self-regulating and whole. The space we are exploring invites a different role, not the gardener, but the naturalist. The naturalist walks into the meadow with no agenda to change it. They observe. They note the interplay between species, how the tall grasses support the climbing vines, how the weed in one context is a crucial medicinal herb in another. They understand that health is not the absence of certain plants, but the dynamic balance of the whole system. Psychologically, this shift is from self-improvement to self-allowance. Self-improvement is a war waged on your present experience. Self-allowance is a ceasefire. It is the radical permission for your inner ecosystem to be exactly as it is in this moment, anxious, tired, joyful, confused, without immediately mobilizing to alter it. This is not passivity. It is the deepest form of intelligence. A body of research in trauma therapy, particularly around polyvagal theory, shows that the nervous system cannot heal under threat. When we approach our anxiety with the goal of fixing it, we often inadvertently send a new threat signal: this feeling is wrong and must go. This keeps the system locked in a defensive state. Healing occurs when we create conditions of safety, through presence, warmth, and non-judgment, that allow the autonomic nervous system to spontaneously downshift from fight-flight into a state of rest, connection, and repair. You cannot think your way into this shift. You must allow your way into it. When you stop trying to improve yourself, a profound thing happens: you start to discover yourself. You notice that the anxiety is not a monolithic enemy, but a fluttering in the chest, a shallow breath, a story about the future. As you allow these components to exist without resistance, they often simply complete their cycle. The energy moves. The story loses its grip. Not because you defeated it, but because you stopped giving it an opponent to fight. The meadow, when left to its own intelligence, finds its balance. Your inner world, met with allowance, begins to do the same. In a quiet tea house in Kyoto, I participated in a traditional tea ceremony under the guidance of a master. The process was agonizingly slow, every movement prescribed: the folding of the cloth, the whisking of the matcha, the turning of the bowl. But the moment that transfixed me was before anything began. The master presented me with the chawan, the tea bowl. It was stunning, a rustic piece with a rough texture and a glaze that ran like a waterfall frozen in time. He held it out to me and said, through the translator, "Please admire the bowl." I did. Then he said, "Now, please see its emptiness." I looked at the empty space inside the bowl. This ceremony, he said, is not about the tea. It is about preparing the cup to receive the tea. If the cup is already full, of your thoughts, your judgments, your hurry, the tea cannot enter. It will spill over the sides, wasted. The most important part of the bowl is the space that is not clay. We spend our lives focused on the clay, the form, the achievements, the tangible possessions. We polish it, compare it, lament its imperfections. We believe we are the clay. And we are constantly trying to fill this clay form with more and more experiences, accomplishments, and validations, terrified of the empty space within. But what if your essence is not the clay, but the hollow? What if you are not the thought, but the awareness that knows the thought? Not the emotion, but the space that feels the emotion. The clay of your personality, your habits, your history, your preferences, is beautiful and unique, like the master's bowl. But its ultimate purpose is not to be admired as a solid object. Its purpose is to hold space. Your anxiety is the feeling of being only clay, dense, solid, brittle. Your peace is the remembrance of your own emptiness. The receptive, open, intelligent space within. The tea of life, love, joy, creativity, even sorrow, cannot be truly tasted if your inner cup is already overflowing with the mental chatter of past and future. You must first see, and honor, the empty cup. The master's lesson was that the ceremony, the careful, present-minded preparation, was the act of emptying the cup. Each prescribed movement was a gentle wiping away of distraction, a return to the pristine emptiness that makes the eventual sip of tea a moment of profound communion. Your practice of stillness is your tea ceremony. It is the deliberate, patient clearing of your inner cup, so that life, when it arrives, can be tasted fully, without being tainted by the residue of what was already there. Close your eyes for a moment and ask, who is in charge here? The mind will likely present an image. Me, a kind of homunculus sitting behind your eyes, pulling levers, making decisions, observing the world. This is the sense of the central commander, the CEO of you Incorporated. This CEO believes it is the author of thoughts, the originator of actions, and the enduring core of your identity. Its entire existence is predicated on control. And it is, neurobiologically speaking, largely a fiction. Modern neuroscience reveals a picture of the brain not as a hierarchy with a commander, but as a vast, democratic network of competing systems. A decision is not made by a single decider, but emerges from the conflict and cooperation between different neural assemblies, the emotional limbic system, the rational prefrontal cortex, the habitual basal ganglia. By the time the I has the thought, I will have a cup of tea, the brain has already fired the preparatory signals. The conscious I is less a commander and more a press secretary, taking credit for decisions already made in the committee rooms of the unconscious. Why does this matter? Because the suffering of the separate self is built on this illusion of centralized control. The CEO feels responsible for everything. It must manage emotions, which arise on their own, suppress undesirable thoughts, which appear spontaneously, and secure a future against a universe of uncertainty. This is an impossible, exhausting job. The CEO is set up to fail, and its failure is what we experience as anxiety, guilt, and shame. Inner space begins to dissolve this illusion. When you sit quietly and watch thoughts arise without following them, you start to see that thoughts happen. They are not authored by a central you. They appear like weather in the sky of awareness. When you feel an emotion like sadness swell in your chest, you can notice it is not your sadness in the sense of a personal creation, it is a wave of sensation passing through the field of your body. This is not a loss of agency. It is a liberation from a false, burdensome type of agency, the kind based on a tiny dictator trying to control a vast, living continent. True agency emerges when the press secretary retires, and you begin to identify not with the CEO in the head office, but with the entire thriving, intelligent ecosystem of your being. Action then arises not from a cramped, fearful control center, but from the integrated wisdom of the whole system responding fluidly to the present moment. You trade the fiction of being a brittle commander for the reality of being a fluent, embodied process. I spent a week on a small island in the Maldives, where time seemed to follow the rhythm of the tides. An old fisherman there took me out in his donie at dawn. He didn't use modern sonar or GPS. He would simply cut the engine, sit on the edge of the boat, and gaze at the horizon. For 10-20 minutes, he would just look. I asked him what he was looking for. He pointed to the line where the sky met the sea. "I am not looking for anything," he said. "I am looking at the meeting place." My eyes relax there. When my mind settles into that line, I feel where the fish are. The thinking, he tapped his forehead, is too loud. It shouts over the feeling. He was tuning his awareness to a subtler frequency. The horizon line, that vast, empty boundary, was his focal point for emptying the noise of active seeking. In the spacious, non-focused attention that resulted, a kind of embodied knowing could surface. We are so often like a fisherman churning the water with frantic activity, throwing nets at every shadow, guided by mental maps and aggressive strategy. We believe effort must look like strain. We are afraid that if we stop our frantic searching, we will catch nothing, we will be lost. But the old fisherman knew a different kind of effort, the effort of settling. He understood that clarity doesn't come from adding more mental activity, it comes from letting the silt of thought settle to the bottom, so the water of perception becomes clear. His knowing where the fish were wasn't mystical, it was perceptual. It was the result of his whole system, senses, intuition, memory, integrating information once the static of his anxious, goal-oriented thinking was dialed down. Your inner horizon line is the space between thoughts, the pause between breaths, the quiet awareness behind your mental chatter. When you focus there, not to achieve anything, but simply to let your awareness rest in that openness, you are doing what the fisherman did. You are allowing the silt of your worry, planning, and self-concern to settle. From that settled place, a different intelligence can operate. You might suddenly know the right thing to say in a difficult conversation. You might feel a clear no or yes in your body about a decision. You might simply feel a deep sense of belonging, of being exactly where you are, without needing to chase anything on the other side of the horizon. The fish you catch from this place are not just material successes, they are moments of authenticity, right action, and peace that arise from the deep, still waters of your own settled being. All of this talk of space and awareness can feel abstract, like trying to grasp smoke. The mind, confused, might ask, where is this space? How do I rest as awareness? The doorway out of this abstraction is not through more thinking, but through turning your attention to the one constant, tangible reality you have, your body. Your body is the literal ground of your experience. It is where thought becomes chemistry, where emotion becomes sensation, where the story of me is written in muscle tension and breath patterns. The body is also the nervous system's primary reporter. It doesn't deal in concepts like failure or future, it deals in concrete signals, tightness, heat, vibration, pressure, ease. When you are lost in anxious thought about a future event, check in with your body. You will likely find shoulders hunched toward the ears, a jaw subtly clenched, breath held high in the chest. The story is in the mind, but the suffering is in the body's preparation for a physical threat that isn't happening. The body believes the story, and it mobilizes for battle. The practice of healing space, therefore, must be somatic. It must involve descending from the windy attic of your thoughts and coming home to the living room of your physical sensations. This is not a distraction technique. It is a profound recalibration. By bringing gentle, non-judgmental attention to the bodily sensations of the anxiety, the tight chest, the knotted stomach, you accomplish two things. First, you interrupt the feedback loop. The mind says, danger, the body tenses, the tension confirms, danger, to the mind, and the loop intensifies. By placing your attention on the sensation itself, this is tightness, this is fluttering. Rather than the story about it, this means I'm going to fail, you break the circuit. The sensation is just a sensation. It can be felt. Second, and more importantly, your attentive presence sends a new signal to the deepest, oldest parts of your brainstem and nervous system, the limbic system and the vagus nerve. This signal is one of curiosity, not threat. It is the signal of a caring witness. Neuroscience shows that this kind of attuned, internal attention can stimulate the ventral vagal complex, the branch of the nervous system responsible for social connection, calm, and restoration. Literally, by feeling your feet on the ground with care, or by following the natural rhythm of your breath without forcing it, you can manually downshift your physiology from fight or flight into a state of safety. The body learns through repetition. It learned to tense up in response to certain thoughts through thousands of repetitions. It can learn a new association, that the presence of your conscious, kind attention means safety. That a feeling, no matter how intense, can be experienced without catastrophe. This learning happens in the marrow, in the nerves, below the level of words. So when you are adrift in fear, don't try to argue with the storm in your mind. Drop anchor in your body. Feel the weight of your hips in the chair. Notice the temperature of the air on your skin. Trace the path of a single breath all the way in, and all the way out. You are not trying to feel better. You are practicing feeling directly. And in that direct feeling, the body slowly, gradually, begins to whisper back the oldest truth: you are here. And here, in this moment, you are safe. In the vast, raw landscape of Patagonia, I hired a guide to hike near the imposing face of the Perito Moreno Glacier. Our path took us across a field of scree, a steep slope of loose, shifting rocks and gravel. My instinct, and my fear, told me to move quickly, to fight the instability, to get across the treacherous ground as fast as possible. I began scrambling, slipping, my heart pounding. I was exhausting myself and making myself less stable. The guide, seeing my struggle, stopped me. "You are fighting the mountain," he said calmly. "You must let the mountain carry you." He demonstrated. Instead of pushing off aggressively with each step, he placed his foot gently onto the scree, allowing his weight to settle slowly, letting the stones shift and find their new arrangement under him before committing his full weight. His movement was not fast, but it was fluid, steady, and required remarkably little effort. He wasn't moving across a stable surface, he was in a dynamic, cooperative dance with an unstable one. The scree, he explained, is always moving. If you try to be rigid, to impose your will on it, it will collapse under you. If you allow your movement to be absorbed by its movement, you become part of the system. You move with it. Our inner landscape is often a field of scree. Thoughts and emotions are unstable, shifting, lacking solid ground. Our conditioned response is to panic and try to sprint across, to frantically fix our mood, solve our anxiety, nail down our identity. This frantic effort only makes us slip more, exhausting us as we fight the inherent fluidity of our own being. The practice of inner space is the art of the scree walk. It is learning to place the foot of your attention gently on the shifting ground of a difficult feeling. You don't push. You don't run. You settle in, allowing the sensation to shift and rearrange under the weight of your awareness. You become part of the system, not its enemy. Anxiety is not a solid wall to batter down. It is a field of psychic scree. By meeting it with gentle, settling attention, feeling the jittery energy in the limbs, the tight breath, you stop fighting it. You allow its movement to be, and in doing so, you find a way to move with it, not against it. The path across becomes not a terrifying ordeal, but a fascinating, embodied negotiation with the present moment. The guide's lesson was that stability is not found in the absence of movement, but in the skillful, allowing relationship to movement. Your peace is not the flat, solid pavement you wish for. It is the learned skill of walking gracefully on the ever-shifting, alive ground of your own experience. As the inner noise settles and the old, familiar identities, the achiever, the helper, the wounded one, lose their gripping power, a profound and often unsettling feeling can wash over you. It is not sadness, nor depression. It is a deep, quiet sense of being alone. Not lonely for people, but alone in existence. This is existential loneliness, and it is a crucial, misunderstood threshold. We are social creatures, wired for connection. For most of our lives, our sense of self is forged in the mirror of others, a parent's approval, a friend's laughter, a society's expectations. We know who we are by how we are reflected. When you begin to spend significant time in the inner space, you step away from these mirrors. The reflections fade. And what is left can feel like standing in an empty hall, hearing only your own footsteps. The mind, terrified of this apparent emptiness, will urge you to run back to the mirrors, call someone, post something, make a plan. Do anything to feel reflected again. This is the panic of the social self, fearing irrelevance, fearing invisibility. But if you can resist the urge to flee, and instead turn toward this feeling of aloneness with curiosity, something alchemical begins to happen. The feeling starts to change its nature. It ceases to be loneliness, which implies a lack of something external, and begins to become solitude, which implies the rich, full presence of something internal. This shift marks the movement from needing others to complete you, to discovering your own intrinsic completeness. It is the difference between a vase that feels empty and worthless without flowers, and the vase that recognizes its own beautiful form, its capacity to hold space, whether flowers are present or not. In this solitude, you are not isolated from life, you are intimate with the raw fabric of being itself. You feel the air on your skin not as a person having an experience, but as sensation arising in awareness. You hear a bird not as a separate listener hearing a separate bird, but as sound happening within the same field of silence that you are. The boundary between, in here, and out there, softens. This is the precursor to what some traditions call non-dual awareness. Before the blissful feelings of unity, there is often this stark, clean sense of aloneness, because the familiar, separate self that needed company is dissolving. What remains is not a smaller self, but a larger space. And from this space, connection with others transforms. It is no longer a needy grasping for completion, but a generous, joyful meeting between two complete universes. You no longer connect to fill a void, you connect from the fullness of your own solitude, and that connection becomes clearer, cleaner, and without the sticky residue of dependency. In the shadow of the great cathedral of Chartres, France, I met a woman who repairs ancient stained glass. She showed me a damaged panel depicting a saint. Up close, outside the window, it was a puzzle of sharp, colored glass fragments. People think the glass is the art, she said. It is beautiful, yes. But the art is in the leading. She pointed to the dark, lead strips that outlined every piece, holding the puzzle together. The lead is ugly by itself. Hard, dark, linear. But without it, the glass is just a pile of shards. The lead gives each piece its edge, its place. It creates the pattern by being the space between the color. She then led me inside the cathedral. She had me look at the same panel, now with sunlight streaming through it. Now look, she whispered. From inside, with the light behind it, the lead lines vanished into shadow. All I could see were pools and rivers of radiant color, seemingly floating in space, held together by light itself. The separator had become the invisible frame. Our personality, our history, our separate sense of self, is like that leading. It feels solid, dark, defining. It creates the pattern of me and not me. It holds the fragments of our experience together into a coherent picture. We spend our lives polishing and worrying over these lead lines, our identity, our story. The inner journey is like stepping inside the cathedral. When you rest in a space of awareness, with the light of conscious attention shining from within, something miraculous happens. The solid lines of separation, the I that feels apart from the world, begin to recede into shadow. They don't disappear, they are still there, providing structure. But they are no longer what you primarily identify with. What you experience then is the radiant color of pure experience itself, sensation, perception, emotion, thought. All appearing, interconnected, held together not by the hard lines of a separate self, but by the luminous, spacious awareness that you are. The feeling of being an isolated piece dissolves into the experience of being the whole illuminated picture. You fear the loss of the leading because you think it's all that holds you together. But the artisan's secret is that the true holding power was never in the lead. It was in the light. Your true coherence is not in your story, but in the aware space that witnesses it. When you identify with that light, you discover you were never just a fragment of colored glass, you are the entire, breathtaking window. We are taught that desire is the engine of life. It propels us forward, fuels ambition, and sparks creation. To question desire can feel like questioning life force itself. But a closer look reveals that what we lump together as desire are two fundamentally different energies, one that stems from a sense of lack, and one that arises from a sense of fullness. The first is hunger-based desire. This is the wanting that says, I am incomplete, and when I obtain that object, achieve that status, or receive that validation, then I will be whole. This desire is future-oriented. Its focus is not on the object itself, but on the imagined state of completion the object promises. It is a chasing phantom. The moment the object is obtained, the mind, still operating from the premise of lack, quickly finds a new lack to project onto the future. This is the treadmill of craving. It is exhausting because the finish line always moves. Neuroscientifically, this loops the dopamine system, the seeking circuitry. In a cycle of anticipation and brief reward, followed by a crash that demands more seeking. The second is appreciation-based desire. This is the attraction that arises when you are already present and full. You see a sunset, and a natural awe of appreciation arises. You hear a piece of music, and you are drawn into listening. This desire is present moment oriented. It is the movement of life toward more aliveness, not away from perceived emptiness. It is the flower turning toward the sun not because it feels incomplete in the shade, but because turning toward the light is its natural expression of its already existing fullness. Inner space works on desire not by killing it, but by revealing its source. When you touch the quiet fullness of simple awareness, the I am, before it becomes, I am this or that, you begin to satisfy the deep, existential lack that hunger-based desire is trying to fill. You realize you are already the wholeness you were seeking. From this felt wholeness, desire transforms. The frantic, future-oriented hunger softens. What remains is a cleaner, more present energy, curiosity, attraction, appreciation, love. You may still pursue goals, but the pursuit is no longer a desperate attempt to fix yourself. It is an expression of your aliveness, like a dancer moving across a stage not to reach the other side, but for the joy of the dance itself. The goal becomes almost incidental, the richness is in the engaged, present moment process. This is the freedom described in many contemplative paths, not the absence of preference, but liberation from the torment of craving. You can enjoy the peach fully because you are not eating it to fill a hole in your soul. You can work on a project passionately because the work itself is fascinating, not because its success is your only ticket to feeling valid. Your life ceases to be a frantic search for the next thing that will complete you, and becomes a graceful participation in the unfolding wonder of things, starting from the unshakable knowledge that you, as awareness, are already complete. In a bustling market in Oaxaca, Mexico, I became fascinated by a baker who made sourdough bread in a wood-fired oven behind his stall. His bread was legendary, a perfect crust, an airy, tangy crumb. The secret, he told me, was his masa madre, his sourdough starter. He kept it in a simple ceramic crock. This, he said, pointing to the bubbly, off-white paste, is not an ingredient. It is a living thing. It must be fed, yes, with flour and water. But more importantly, it must be rested. He explained that after feeding, the starter becomes active, frothy, full of yeasty ambition. But if you use it in that state, the bread will be erratic, too sour, or collapse. You must wait. You must let it settle. After its period of frantic activity, it subsides into a quiet, mature phase. It is in this rest phase, this quiet fullness, that it has the most strength and stability. It is ready to leaven the bread perfectly, to give itself over to become something new without losing its essence. If I never let it rest, he said, if I just keep feeding it and using it in its excited state, it becomes weak. It loses its character. It gets stressed and dies. The rest is not doing nothing. For the starter, rest is the most important work. We treat our own energy like a starter perpetually kept in the frothy, frantic, active phase. We feed ourselves with stimuli and tasks, and we immediately use that agitated energy to try to leaven our lives. We wonder why our results are erratic, why we feel like we might collapse. We are afraid of the rest phase, the settling, the quiet maturity. We call it boredom, laziness, or wasted time. But the baker's wisdom points to a natural law: creative power, resilience, and true strength are consolidated in the quiet phase after activity, not in the activity itself. Your inner space practice is the daily rest phase for your psychic sourdough starter. When you sit in stillness, you are not being unproductive. You are allowing the froth of your mental and emotional activity to settle. You are moving from the agitated, reactive state into a state of quiet, mature presence. From this settled place, your actions, the bread you bake of your life, will have a different quality. They will be more consistent, more nourishing, more authentically yours. They will arise not from frantic doing, but from deep, rested being. The constant, low-grade anxiety of modern life is the signal of a starter that has never been allowed to properly rest. It is exhausted, stressed, and producing unreliable results. Your willingness to enter the silence, to value the useless pause, is the act of a master baker tending to the source of all true nourishment. You are feeding the rest that feeds everything else. One of the most visceral fears the mind can experience is the fear of groundlessness, the terror that if you let go of your beliefs, your plans, your self-concept, you will fall forever into a void. This fear often surfaces powerfully as the old structures of identity begin to soften. The mind screams, grab onto something. Anything. We are psychologically conditioned to seek ground. We want a solid floor to stand on. I am a doctor, I am a Democrat, I am a seeker of truth, I am a victim of my past. These are all psychological floors. They provide orientation, a sense of where I stand. But life has a way of pulling these floors out from under us, through loss, failure, unexpected change, or simply through the insights that come from honest self-inquiry. When the floor drops, we call it a crisis. And it is. But it is also an invitation to discover a different kind of footing. Consider the ocean. Does the ocean have a floor? Yes, far below. But does a fish swimming in the mid-depths experience the ocean floor as its ground? No. The fish's ground is the water itself, the dynamic, fluid medium that simultaneously supports it and is it. The fish doesn't swim on the ocean, it swims within its own element. Our search for psychological ground is a search for the ocean floor in the middle of the water. We want something solid, fixed, and separate to stand on in the midst of a reality that is inherently fluid, interconnected, and in motion. When we can't find it, we panic. Groundlessness is the direct experience of being the fish, not finding the floor. It is the realization that you are not standing on reality, you are swimming within the reality of aware presence. This aware presence is your true element. It is not solid in the way a floor is solid, but it is utterly reliable and supportive in the way water is to the fish. You cannot fall out of it. The fear is the remnant of the old belief that you are a separate entity that needs a platform. The freedom is the discovery that you are the ocean of awareness, and within this ocean, everything, thoughts, feelings, the sense of self, arises and passes like waves and currents. You don't need to stand on a wave. You are the water that allows all waves to be. This doesn't mean life becomes passive or directionless. A fish has direction, it swims toward food, away from danger, guided by an intelligence inherent to its being. When you discover groundlessness as your ground, your actions begin to arise from the fluid, intelligent responsiveness of your whole being to the present situation, not from the brittle, fear-based strategies of a separate self trying to secure its perch on an imaginary floor. In the German city of Jena, famous for its optics, I visited the workshop of a master lens grinder. He crafted lenses for astronomical telescopes. His work was one of supreme patience. A single lens could take months. He explained that the perfection of the lens wasn't in the glass, but in the curve, a parabola so precise that it gathers scattered light from the distant cosmos and brings it to a single, clear point of focus. The most common mistake, he said, holding a disc of flawless glass, is to try too hard. You think you are creating the curve. You are not. You are revealing the curve that is already potential within the glass. Your job is to remove everything that is not the perfect parabola. If you push, if you impose your idea of the curve, you create microscopic fractures. The lens will always be flawed. The art is in the subtraction, not the addition. It is in knowing when to stop grinding. We approach our minds and our lives as an additive process. We grind away, adding more knowledge, more habits, more achievements, more spiritual insights, trying to create the perfect curve of an enlightened or successful self. We push. We impose. And we often end up with microscopic fractures, stress, inauthenticity, a feeling of being somehow off. The practice of inner space is the work of the lens grinder. It is fundamentally subtractive. You are not trying to create peace, clarity, or love. Those are not things to be added. They are the natural state of the system when the obscurations, the compulsive thinking, the defensive tension, the identifications, are gently worn away. Your silence, your self-inquiry, your moments of simple awareness, are the grinding tools. But the art is in the non-force. It is in the gentle, patient attention that allows what is false and extraneous to be revealed and, in time, to fall away. You are not building a better self. You are revealing the pristine, clear lens of your own aware nature, which has been there all along, obscured by the dust and unevenness of accumulated mental and emotional patterns. The fear that arises in stillness is the fear of the grinder. If I keep removing, what will be left? Will I disappear? The master knows that what is left is not nothing. It is the perfect curve. The capacity to gather the scattered light of experience and bring it into the sharp, brilliant focus of conscious presence. You are not the grinder or the glass. You are the perfect parabola of awareness itself, being revealed. Our culture trains attention to be a spotlight. It is a narrow, intense beam that we direct at tasks, screens, problems, and objects of desire. We are evaluated on our ability to sustain this spotlight, to focus. When the spotlight wavers, we call it distractibility, a flaw. This spotlight mode is essential for functioning in the world, but when it becomes the only mode of attention we know, it creates a deep, structural suffering. The spotlight illuminates a small circle but casts everything else into shadow. When your attention is perpetually focused on a problem, your whole world becomes that problem. When it's focused on a desired future, the present becomes a dim waiting room. This narrow focus reinforces the sense of a separate looker examining a separate thing. It is the attention of the manager, the controller, the seeker. Inner space cultivates a different faculty, panoramic attention. This is not focus, but a wide, soft, receptive awareness. It is like opening the aperture of a camera to its widest setting, letting in the entire scene without prioritizing any one part. It is the difference between staring at a single tree and relaxing your gaze to take in the entire forest, the sky, the feeling of the ground under your feet, and the sound of the wind, all at once. Panoramic attention is the natural state of awareness when it is not contracted by thought or desire. In this state, there is no central, spotlight holder. Awareness is simply present, like the sky, containing clouds, birds, and vast emptiness equally. Thoughts and sensations arise within this wide field like weather, noticed but not chased or fixated upon. This shift from spotlight to panorama is neurologically significant. Focused attention is associated with the brain's task-positive network, TPN. Panoramic, open awareness is associated with the default mode network, DMN, the same network active during mind-wandering, introspection, and self-referential thinking. However, when panoramic awareness is conscious and intentional, it seems to allow the DMN to function without spinning into the story-making, past/future obsessing that causes suffering. It's like allowing the radio to play without getting lost in the drama of the song. Practically, when you feel overwhelmed by a focused problem, spotlight locked on anxiety, you can consciously shift to panoramic attention. Feel the space around you. Listen to all sounds near and far without naming them. Feel the entirety of your bodily sensation from head to toe at once. This doesn't solve the problem, but it places the problem within a vast context. The anxiety becomes one small cloud in a big sky, not the whole weather system. This contextualization is inherently calming. It reminds the nervous system that there is more to reality than the threat. This is the attention of healing. It is the space that holds the content. By practicing panoramic awareness. In meditation, in nature, in simple moments of pause, you are strengthening your capacity to be the sky, not just the weather. You are learning that your true nature is not the narrow, striving beam of focused thought, but the boundless, receptive field that allows all thoughts to come and go. In the red, arid heart of the Australian outback, I traveled with an Aboriginal elder who was a renowned water diviner. He didn't use rods or gadgets. He would walk for hours in the scorching heat, barefoot, in what seemed like a random pattern. When I asked how he knew where to find the hidden underground streams, he said, "I don't know. I listen with my whole body. The land speaks not in words, but in pull. There is a subtle tugging in the feet, a coolness in the air that you can't measure with a machine, only with stillness. Your thinking mind is like the sun, loud, hot, dominant. It drowns out the whisper of the water. I must become like the night, cool, quiet, empty, to feel the pull. He described a process of emptying himself of agenda until he became a receptive instrument. The water wasn't found through active seeking, but through becoming so still that he could register the land's own intelligence. We are constantly seeking solutions, insights, and emotional relief with the sun of our thinking minds, loud, hot, and aggressive. We dig frantically in random places, guided by maps of should and supposed to. We exhaust ourselves and find only dust. We conclude the water isn't there, or that we are flawed for not finding it. But the diviner's art points to a different way. The healing, the insight, the peace you seek is already here, like an underground stream beneath the surface of your busy mind. You cannot find it by digging more thinking holes. You must learn the art of becoming like the night. Your practice of silence is this. It is the conscious cooling of the mental sun. It is the walking barefoot on the terrain of your own being with no destination, simply listening with your whole bodily awareness for the subtle pull, the intuitive nudge, the bodily felt sense of rightness, the quiet knowing that emerges not from thought, but from the deeper aquifer of your being. The fear of stillness is the fear of the empty, night-like desert. It feels barren, pointless. But the diviner knows the desert is not empty, it is full of signals that are only audible in the quiet. Your anxiety, your longing, your fatigue, these are not just problems. They are the dry surface indicating there is water below. Your job is not to curse the dryness, but to learn, through patient stillness, to feel the cool, hidden pull that leads you to the wellspring that has been there all along. Closely tied to the machinery of desire is a powerful story. The story of the better future self. This is the imagined version of you who has finally arrived. Who has processed all their trauma, mastered their emotions, achieved their goals, and now abides in permanent peace and success. This future self is the carrot on the stick that keeps the donkey of our present self moving forward, often with a sense of subtle inadequacy. This story is one of the mind's most compelling and painful creations. It is painful because it systematically devalues your present reality. The present moment, and the person you are in it, is always seen as lacking, as raw material to be shaped into the finished product of the future. This creates a subtle but constant rejection of your own lived experience. Worse, the better future self is a mirage. It is a fantasy of stasis, a finished person in a finished life. But life is process. You are a verb, not a noun. The moment you imagine you've become the better self, life will present a new challenge, a new feeling, a new loss, and the fantasy will collapse. This leads to cycles of fervent hope and profound disappointment, often called spiritual bypassing, when it involves using spiritual ideas to avoid present pain. Inner space dismantles this myth not by achieving the better self, but by revealing its inherent fiction. When you rest in awareness, you are not a project. You are presence itself. In presence, there is no better or worse. There is just what is, the sensation of breathing, the sound of the room, the flow of thoughts. In this direct experience, the story of the future self loses its magnetic pull. Why? Because the wholeness you are seeking in the future is felt in the alive intimacy of the present. This doesn't mean you stop growing or setting intentions. It means your growth is no longer fueled by the rejection of who you are now. It becomes an organic unfolding, like a plant growing toward the light not because it hates its current leaves, but because growth is its natural expression. You can work on healing, learn new skills, and strive for goals, but you do it from a place of present moment acceptance, not toward a place of future salvation. The peace you seek is not waiting for you in a future where you are different. It is available now, in the simple, unadorned act of being aware of what is, without needing it to be a stepping stone to something else. When you see this, the exhausting, hope-filled, hope-crushing pilgrimage to the land of the better future self comes to an end. You realize you are already home, and home is this ever-changing, ever-present reality. In Bali, I visited the home of a renowned architect who specialized in designing traditional, open-air pavilions called bales. His most stunning work was not a building, but a structure that seemed to be mostly space. It was a raised platform with a steeply pitched roof of thatch, but its sides were completely open, supported only by graceful columns. There were no walls. I asked him, "Where are the walls? What defines the space?" He smiled. "The walls are the garden," he said, gesturing to the lush tropical foliage that surrounded the pavilion. "The rain, the wind, the scent of frangipani. They are all invited inside. The roof defines a territory of shelter, but the openness defines a relationship. A walled room says, this is inside, that is outside. This," he said, sweeping his hand through the airy space, "says, here, inside and outside are friends." He explained that the value of the pavilion was not in its solid elements, but in its crafted emptiness. It was a space for connection, with people, with nature, with the breeze. A walled room's function is to contain and separate. The pavilion's function was to connect by virtue of its intentional emptiness. Our psychological structure is often like a walled room. We build thick walls of identity, belief, and defense to define a safe inside and keep a threatening outside at bay. But these walls also cut us off. We feel isolated, separate, and the interior can become stale, stagnant with our own recycled thoughts. The journey into inner space is the architectural shift from building stronger walls to designing an open pavilion. You are learning that your true nature is not the small, defended room of me, but the open, aware space that can welcome the entire garden of experience. The thoughts, the emotions, the sensations, they are not intruders to be walled out. They are the weather, the scent, the life of the garden, and they are invited to pass through the open sides of your awareness. You are not destroyed by them, you are refreshed by them. The roof, the stable, witnessing awareness, provides shelter, so you are not battered by the storms. But the openness allows connection, flow, and aliveness. Your fear has been the fear of taking down the walls, believing you would be exposed and destroyed. The architect's wisdom shows that the most sophisticated design is one that provides shelter through connection, not against it. Your peace is found not in being a fortified castle, but in becoming a gracious, open pavilion, where life is free to visit, and you are free to experience it all, intimately, without being swept away. We are taught to own our emotions. I am angry. I am sad. I am anxious. This linguistic and psychological habit is a primary source of suffering. The moment you say, "I am an emotion," you collapse the vast sky of your awareness into a single, often turbulent, weather pattern. You become the storm. A more precise, and liberating, way of experiencing emotion is to see it as a weather system moving through the sky of awareness. The sky does not become the cloud. It holds the cloud. It allows the cloud to form, to darken, to release rain, and to dissipate. The sky remains, fundamentally unchanged, throughout the process. Emotions are complex, temporary physiological events. They involve changes in hormones, muscle tone, breath, and heart rate. They are the body's ancient, intelligent language. A surge of anger is a mobilization of energy for boundary setting. A wave of sadness is a release and a signal of care. Anxiety is the system preparing for a perceived threat. The suffering begins not with the emotion itself, but with the second layer, the mental identification and narrative. The anger arises, whether. Then, the mind instantly creates a story. This anger means he disrespected me. This proves I'm not valued. I must make him pay. This story personalizes and solidifies the weather into a permanent feature of the landscape, your identity. Now you are not just experiencing anger, you are an angry person, with a cause, a history, and a required action. Inner space creates a gap between the weather and the story. By resting in panoramic awareness, you can feel the raw sensation of the anger, the heat in the face, the clenched fists, the quickened pulse. You can feel it as a storm of energy moving through the body sky. In that direct feeling, there is often remarkable intelligence and even beauty. The energy has a message, but not necessarily the one the mind hastily writes. When you stop saying, "I am angry," and start noticing, there is anger, something profound shifts. The emotion is allowed to complete its natural life cycle. It rises, it peaks, it passes. It doesn't get frozen into identity or amplified into drama by the story. The sky. Your aware presence, holds it, feels it fully, and remains spacious. This is emotional maturity. It is not the suppression of emotion, nor its indulgent expression. It is the capacity to be with the full intensity of an emotion without being hijacked by it. You can feel deep grief without becoming a grief-stricken victim. You can feel fierce anger without becoming an aggressor. The emotion informs you, moves through you, and releases you, leaving the sky clearer and often more sensitive and intelligent than before. This approach is supported by modalities like mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, and compassion-focused therapy. They train individuals to decenter from emotions, to see thoughts and feelings as passing events, not as the self. This simple shift in perspective is one of the most powerful therapeutic interventions known, precisely because it returns agency to the sky, and stops the futile war with the weather. In a quiet Florentine studio, I watched a bookbinder restore a 15th century manuscript. The cover was ornate, but her focus was on the spine. "This," she said, holding the delicate binding, "is where the life of the book resides." A spine must be strong enough to hold the pages together, but flexible enough to open fully, to allow the story to be read. If it is too rigid, it cracks. The pages fall out. If it is too loose, the book loses its form, becomes a pile of loose leaves. She demonstrated her technique, applying a special glue in thin layers, allowing each to dry completely before applying the next. She then attached a backing of flexible linen. The strength is in the layers, and in the patience between them. The flexibility is in the material and the space you allow it to have. A good spine remembers it is a hinge, not a wall. Our sense of self is like a book's spine. We often try to make it rigid. I am always this way. I never do that. My beliefs are fixed. This rigidity gives a feeling of solidity, of knowing who we are. But life, like a reader, wants to open the book. It presents new experiences, challenges, and perspectives. A rigid spine, a rigid identity, cracks under this pressure. We experience this as a crisis, a breakdown, a feeling of falling apart. Conversely, if we have no spine at all, no sense of continuity, no values, no capacity to say, this is me, that is not, we become a loose pile of reactions, blown by every wind, with no coherent story. The art of inner living is the art of the bookbinder. It is creating a spine that is both strong and flexible. The strength comes from the deep, non-negotiable layer of aware presence, the glue of consciousness that holds all your experiences together as a single, aware being. The flexibility comes from the space you cultivate around your identity. You know your name, your history, your preferences, but you hold them lightly, as a story you are living, not a prison you inhabit. Your practice of stillness is the application of a thin layer of glue, followed by patient drying. Each moment of quiet awareness strengthens the binding to your true nature, awareness itself, while the space between thoughts provides the flexibility. You are learning to be a hinge, not a wall. You can open fully to life, to love, to new ideas, and then close again into a coherent whole, without cracking. The fear of losing yourself in the space is the fear of the spine becoming too loose. But the master binder knows that true coherence doesn't come from rigidity, it comes from resilient flexibility, built layer by patient layer on the strong, silent backing of presence. We are not just individual minds, we are social creatures, wired for belonging. A powerful layer of the manager self is the social negotiator. Its job is to secure our place in the tribe. It monitors, am I liked? Am I respected? Am I contributing enough? Am I fitting in? This negotiator is ancient. For our ancestors, exile from the tribe was often a death sentence. So, the fear of social rejection is wired into our nervous system with the same urgency as the fear of a physical predator. This social negotiator is the architect of many of our behaviors: people-pleasing, performance anxiety, the fear of saying no, the obsession with how we are perceived on social media. It uses the mirror of other people's eyes to construct and maintain our self-image. We think we know who we are by how we are reflected. When you begin to spend time in the inner space, you step away from these mirrors. The reflections become fainter. The social negotiator panics. It sends urgent signals: you are becoming irrelevant. You will be cast out. You need to post something, achieve something, make yourself seen and needed. This panic can feel like a primal dread. It's not logical, it's biological. It's the body's ancient fear of exile being triggered by psychological independence. This is a critical crossroads. Most of us, feeling this fear, scramble back to the mirror. We seek validation, pick up a familiar role, or create drama just to feel the reflection of others upon us again, to feel real. But if you can stay with this fear, acknowledging it as the protest of an ancient, loyal protector, something shifts. You begin to realize that the reflection you were relying on was always partial, distorted, and temporary. You were building a self out of smoke. As you rest more consistently in your own aware presence, you discover a different kind of belonging, not to a tribe that can exclude you, but to existence itself. You belong because you are, not because you are useful or approved. This belonging is unshakable. It is the belonging of a wave to the ocean. From this place of intrinsic belonging, your social interactions transform. You no longer connect from need, but from wholeness. You can be genuinely kind without being a doormat. You can be authentic without fearing rejection, because your worth is no longer on the negotiating table. You realize that the tribe you were so afraid of losing was a small circle drawn in the sand, while your true home is the entire beach, the whole ocean, the wide sky. The social negotiator, seeing you are safe in this vastness, can finally retire from its frantic, ancient work. In the storied vineyards of Burgundy, a vintner explained to me the paradox of the terroir, the unique combination of soil, climate, and aspect that gives a wine its soul. The best wines, he said, do not come from happy, pampered vines. They come from stressed vines. He led me to a plot where the vines grew in poor, stony soil on a steep slope. Here, the roots must go deep, very deep, to find water and nutrients. They struggle. That struggle concentrates the flavors in the grape. The vine, in its stress, produces compounds to protect itself. Those very compounds give the wine its complexity, its depth, its character that can never be replicated in easy soil. He contrasted this with vines in rich, flat, irrigated fields. They grow fast, lush, and produce many grapes. But the wine is simple, flabby. It has no story, no terroir. We often view psychological and emotional stress as an unmitigated evil, a sign that something is wrong, to be eliminated as quickly as possible. We seek the easy, irrigated field of constant comfort. But the vintner's wisdom suggests another view. Stress, when it cannot be avoided, is not merely a problem. It is a potential catalyst for depth. Your inner challenges, your losses, your fears, your periods of confusion and drought, are your stony soil, your steep slope. The instinct is to flee them, to numb them, to wish for easier terrain. But what if you allowed your roots to go deep into them? What if, instead of fighting the stress, you let it force you to seek resources you didn't know you had? The roots are your capacity for awareness, for feeling, for presence. In easy times, awareness schemes the surface. In times of stress, if you do not abandon yourself, awareness is driven deep. You are forced to find nourishment not in external validation or quick fixes, but in the bedrock of your own being, in the silent, spacious awareness that holds the struggle. The compounds you produce, resilience, compassion, wisdom, humility, are the flavors of a soul with character. They cannot be manufactured in times of ease. Your most difficult periods are not flaws in your vineyard, they are part of your unique terroir. They are what will give the wine of your life its unforgettable depth, its true story. The practice of inner space is not about avoiding the slope or improving the soil. It is about learning to be the vine that can send its roots of awareness deep into any condition, trusting that the struggle itself is part of the mystery of producing something of substance and beauty. We are a culture of effort. We believe that anything of value, success, health, relationships, even enlightenment, must be earned through strenuous striving. We apply this same logic to our inner world. We try to be peaceful. We work on ourselves. We force ourselves to meditate. We approach silence as if it were another mountain to climb, another skill to master. This creates a fundamental paradox. You cannot effort your way into effortlessness. You cannot think your way beyond thought. You cannot control your way into surrender. This is the great koan of the inner journey. The manager self, the climber, wants a technique, a map, a set of drills. But the destination is not a peak, it is the ground you are already standing on. The method is not more doing, it is a profound undoing. This doesn't mean no practice. It means a complete reorientation of what practice is. Practice is not a means to an end. It is the end itself, expressed as a gentle, consistent returning. It is the cultivation of allowing, not achieving. Think of falling asleep. You cannot force yourself to sleep. The more you try, the more awake you become. Sleep comes when you stop trying, when you relax, when you allow the natural process of your nervous system to take over. Your only job is to create the conditions, a dark room, a comfortable bed, a body at rest, and then get out of the way. Inner peace is akin to sleep. It is the natural state of the system when interference ceases. Your practice is the creation of conditions. Moments of quiet, a posture of receptive attention, a commitment to not following every thought. Your effort is the gentle, persistent effort to relax effort. To notice when you are striving, and to soften. To see when you are controlling, and to let go. This is the art of Wu Wei from Taoism, action through non-action, effective effort that appears effortless because it is aligned with the natural flow of things. A sailor does not strive against the wind, they adjust the sail. A surfer does not muscle the wave, they find the point of balance and allow the wave's energy to carry them. Your striving is like paddling against the current. Your allowing is like turning the boat and raising the sail, discovering there is a wind, the intelligence of life itself, that can carry you if you stop fighting it. In neuroscience, this maps onto the shift from the sympathetic, doing, mode to the parasympathetic, being, mode. The practice of allowing is a physiological act of signaling safety to the brainstem, which then downshifts the entire system. It is not a mental accomplishment, it is a biological permission slip. So, when you sit in silence and your mind is frantic, do not try to be peaceful. Simply notice the franticness. Feel it as energy. Notice the one who is trying. And then, see if you can allow that whole constellation, the frantic thoughts, the trying self, to be exactly as it is, without needing to change it. In that radical allowance, striving collapses on itself. And in the space that opens, the natural peace that was always underneath the effort begins to surface, not because you built it, but because you stopped digging. In a serene studio in Seoul, a master calligrapher practiced his art. He was not writing words I could read, but single, large Chinese characters, concepts like peace, mountain, water. His movements were mesmerizing. He would stand perfectly still for minutes before the vast sheet of rice paper, holding his brush upright. He was not planning. He was, as he later explained, becoming empty, so the character could write itself. Then, in one fluid, continuous motion, his arm would sweep down. The brush met the paper, flowing with a confidence that seemed preordained. There was no hesitation, no correction. The ink was black, the lines were thick and thin, conveying not just a meaning, but a feeling, the solidity of a mountain, the fluidity of a stream. The mistake of the student, he said through a translator, is to think with the hand. They try to control the brush to make the perfect shape they see in their mind. The result is tight, lifeless, full of fear. The art is in the preparation of emptiness. When the mind is still, the body knows. The brush becomes an extension of the breath, not the thought. The character that emerges is alive because it was born of space, not of plan. Our lives are often like the student's calligraphy. We have an image in our mind of the perfect shape, the perfect career, relationship, state of mind. We grip the brush of our will tightly and try to force our experience to match the mental blueprint. The result is indeed tight, lifeless, and full of fear. The fear of making a mistake, of straying from the plan. The master's way is different. The preparation, the minutes of stillness, is everything. It is the cultivation of inner space. In that space, the mental blueprint dissolves. What remains is a clean, alert presence. From that presence, action flows spontaneously, perfectly adapted to the moment, like the brushstroke that knows exactly how much ink to release, how much pressure to apply. Your anxiety about the future is the mind trying to think with the hand, to control a brushstroke that hasn't even begun. Your practice of stillness is the preparation of the empty mind. You are not planning the perfect life. You are clearing the space so that life can write itself through you, with the bold, graceful, and unexpected strokes of spontaneity. The character that emerges, your lived experience, may not look like the one you had in your head. It may be wilder, more fluid, more unique. But it will have the one quality the mental blueprint can never have: it will be alive. It will be an authentic expression of the moment, not a fossil of a past idea. Our suffering is bound in time. We regret the past and fear the future. Even our hopes are a form of future projection that subtly devalues the present. The mind is a time machine, and it is almost never parked in the garage of now. But what is the now, really? It's elusive. The moment you name it, it's gone. Yet, it is the only place you can ever actually be. The past is a memory, occurring now. The future is a fantasy, occurring now. All experience, without exception, happens in the ever-present now. Inner space collapses the time machine. It does so not by an act of will, but by revealing the substrate in which time appears, timeless awareness. When you are fully absorbed in a sensation, the taste of cold water, the feeling of a breeze, there is no past or future. There is just the experiencing. In those moments, time doesn't stop, it becomes irrelevant. You have stepped out of the stream of conceptual time and into the ocean of direct experience. This is not about living in the moment as a cliché. It is about recognizing that the moment is infinitely deep. It is not a thin slice between past and future. It is the only dimension that has any reality. The present is not a point on a line. It is the paper on which the line of time is drawn. When you touch this through sustained, quiet awareness, your relationship to life's problems changes. A problem is almost always a story about the past, this happened, projecting a feared future, so that will happen. In the timeless now, there is no story. There is only the sensory reality, a tightness in the stomach, a cluster of thoughts, a visual field. These are manageable. They are immediate. They can be met with attention. The story of past and future is what makes them overwhelming. Resting as awareness is to rest in the timeless. From this vantage, the frantic rush of time-bound thinking is seen for what it is, a compelling, self-generated movie. You can enjoy the movie without believing you are trapped in its plot. You can make plans for tomorrow without your sense of well-being being hostage to their outcome. The clock still ticks, appointments are kept, but you are no longer a prisoner of the timeline. You are the spacious awareness within which time unfolds. This brings a profound, unshakable stability. Market crashes, personal failures, aging, these are events in time. But the aware presence that knows these events is not in time. It is the silent witness, the paper, the screen. When you identify with that, you realize you cannot lose what you truly are to any event that comes and goes. Your security is finally placed in the only thing that never changes. The fact of your own aware presence, here and now. North of the Arctic Circle in Finnish Lapland, I met an artist who worked not with clay or stone, but with massive blocks of ice cut from a frozen lake. His studio was the sub-zero outdoors. He used chainsaws, chisels, and torches. The process was one of relentless subtraction. He would start with a huge, opaque, blue-white block. "I do not decide what is inside," he said, his breath fogging in the air. "I ask the ice. I remove everything that is not the form waiting to be revealed." Over days, a shape would emerge from within the ice, a swooping curve, the suggestion of an animal, a play of light. The final sculpture was not something he imposed, but something he discovered through a dialogue with the material and the light. The most beautiful parts were often where the ice was thinnest, almost transparent, capturing and refracting the weak Arctic sun into 1,000 points of colored light. "If I come with too strong an idea," he said, "I fight the ice. I break it. I must be quiet inside, and listen to what the ice wants to become. The cold is not my enemy. It is what makes the material honest. We approach ourselves with the mindset of an additive sculptor. We want to pile on qualities, more confidence, more discipline, more happiness. We come with a strong idea of what we should be and fight the material of our actual experience, often breaking ourselves in the process. The journey of inner space is one of ice sculpture. You start with the opaque block of your conditioned self, dense with habits, beliefs, and old pain. Your tools are awareness, inquiry, and silence. Your work is subtractive. You are not adding peace, you are removing the layers of mental noise and tension that obscure the peace already within, like the form waiting in the ice. The cold, the discomfort of silence, the fear of emptiness, the ache of old feelings, is not your enemy. It is the condition that makes the material honest. It prevents fakery. You cannot pretend in the cold clarity of mindful awareness. And the goal? To become so transparent, so refined, that the light of consciousness can pass through you unobstructed, refracting into the unique, beautiful expression that only you can be. You are not building a better statue. You are revealing the masterpiece of your own aware nature, which was waiting, crystalline and perfect, within the heart of the ice all along. We are conditioned to believe that intelligence resides exclusively in the thinking, planning, analyzing mind, the headquarters. We distrust the body, dismiss intuition, and override gut feelings with logic. We see ourselves as a CEO, the conscious mind, giving orders to a somewhat unreliable staff, the body, emotions, unconscious. This fragmented view creates internal conflict and exhausts the CEO, who is trying to micromanage a vast, ancient, and wise corporation. Inner space reveals a different model, the intelligence of the whole system. You are not a boss with employees, you are an entire ecosystem. The body has an intelligence, it knows how to heal a wound, regulate temperature, digest food, and send precise signals, like fatigue or tension, about its needs. The heart and gut have neural networks often called the second brain and third brain, processing information and emotion independently. The unconscious mind holds patterns, memories, and creative solutions the conscious mind can't access directly. The thinking mind is a brilliant but narrow specialist. It's great for linear tasks, language, and short-term planning. But it is a terrible manager of the whole. When it tries to be, it creates problems. It overrides the body's need for rest, causing burnout, it rationalizes away intuitive warnings, and it spins in loops trying to solve emotional problems with logic. The practice of spacious awareness is the practice of returning governance to the whole system. It is the CEO learning to sit back, listen to all the department heads, and trust the collective wisdom. In silence, you stop the monologue of the thinking mind and begin to hear the other voices. The body's voice. A knot of tension saying, "This situation is stressful," a feeling of lightness saying, "This is good." The heart's voice, a felt sense of warmth or constriction in relation to people or choices. The intuitive voice, a quiet, wordless knowing that arises from the integration of all signals. This isn't mystical. It's information processing. Your body is constantly processing billions of bits of data from your internal and external environment. Your conscious mind processes maybe 40. In the space of non-thinking awareness, you have access to a broader bandwidth of this systemic intelligence. For example, you have a difficult decision. The thinking mind lists pros and cons but remains stuck. In a moment of quiet walk or meditation, a felt sense of clarity emerges in your chest or gut, leaning toward one option. This is the whole system integrating far more data, past experiences, subtle environmental cues, emotional truths, than the conscious list could ever hold. Healing happens when the system is allowed to self-regulate. You don't think your way out of trauma. You create a safe, spacious container, through mindful presence, in which the locked-up energy in the nervous system can finally complete its cycle and discharge. The intelligence of the body knows how to do this, if the thinking mind stops interrupting with fear and analysis. By valuing the space, you are valuing the boardroom where all parts of you can be heard. Your job is not to figure everything out, but to provide the quiet, attentive presence in which the intrinsic intelligence of your entire being can come to coherence and guide you. You are learning to trust something vaster and wiser than your thoughts. The Atacama Desert in Chile is one of the driest places on Earth. Some areas see rain less than once a decade. Yet, in certain coastal hills, an ingenious system sustains life. They are called fog catchers. Massive, fine mesh nets are strung between poles on ridges where the cold Humboldt Current pushes dense fog inland from the Pacific. The fog, laden with microscopic water droplets, blows through the nets. The droplets coalesce on the mesh, run down into gutters, and are channeled into tanks, providing precious water for villages and reforestation projects. A community leader there told me, for centuries, we saw the fog as a curse. It blocked the sun, made things cold and damp, but gave no drinkable water. We prayed for rain that never came. Then we learned to see the water that was already in the air, invisible. We stopped waiting for the big, obvious solution from above, and learned to gather the 10,000 tiny gifts that were already passing through. Our emotional and spiritual thirst can feel like the Atacama. We wait for the big rain. The transformative experience, the breakthrough, the moment of arrival where everything becomes clear and easy. We see the daily fog of our mundane experience, the subtle anxieties, fleeting joys, minor irritations, moments of quiet, as insignificant, even a nuisance. We dismiss them because they aren't the dramatic downpour of enlightenment or perfect happiness. The practice of inner space is the practice of becoming a fog catcher. You are learning to see the nourishment in the fine, passing weather of your ordinary awareness. Each moment of mindful pause is a strand in your net. Each gentle noticing of a breath, each allowance of a difficult feeling without reaction, each second where you rest as awareness instead of thought, these are the moments where the microscopic droplets of peace, presence, and clarity coalesce. You are not waiting for a thunderstorm of bliss. You are developing the fine mesh of attention to harvest the sustenance that is already passing through the atmosphere of your now. A single drop is nothing. But a net, patiently tended, can fill a tank. Your moments of collected presence, gathered over days and weeks, become the reservoir that sustains you through life's dry spells. The fog you once cursed, the quiet boredom, the subtle unease, the nothing special quality of the present moment, is revealed as the carrier of the very water of life. Your thirst is quenched not by a distant miracle, but by learning the art of receiving what is already, quietly, being offered. Many spiritual and self-help paths exhort us to be more compassionate, especially toward ourselves. This can become yet another burdensome goal, another way the manager self tries to improve its performance. You berate yourself for not being compassionate enough. This is the trap of spiritual striving. From the perspective of inner space, compassion is not a virtue to be cultivated through force of will. It is a natural byproduct, an inevitable fragrance, of the recognition of non-separation. When you see through the illusion of the separate, solid self, a profound understanding dawns. The suffering you see in another is not fundamentally different from the suffering you have felt in yourself. It is the same movement of life, appearing in a different form. True compassion arises when the walls of your separate self grow porous. It is not you feeling sorry for them. It is awareness recognizing itself in another form and responding with the inherent intelligence of care. This is not sentimental, it can be fierce and clear. It is the natural response of a whole system to a part of itself in pain. Self-compassion, then, is not about talking nicely to yourself, though that can be a helpful start. It is the direct result of no longer being at war with your own experience. When you can sit with your own anger, fear, or shame in the spacious awareness that does not judge it as bad or mine, you are embodying compassion. You are giving the suffering in you the same spacious permission to exist that you would, intuitively, offer to a crying child. The space is the compassion. This is neurologically coherent. Practices of loving-kindness meditation have been shown to activate brain regions associated with empathy and positive emotion. But deeper than that, the state of open, non-judgmental awareness, which is the foundation of inner space practice, regulates the amygdala, fear center, and strengthens connections to the prefrontal cortex, regulation. In simple terms, when you are not in a defensive, self-referential state, your brain's natural capacity for empathy and connection can function unimpeded. So you do not need to try to be compassionate. You need only to clear the obstacles to compassion, which are the contraction of identity, the judgment of experience, and the story of separation. As you rest in the space, these obstacles soften. Compassion then flows not as something you do, but as something you are. It is the water that emerges when you stop digging the well and simply allow the spring to find its own way to the surface. In a large park in Beijing, I saw an old man flying a traditional Chinese kite, not a simple diamond, but an elaborate, swirling dragon dozens of feet long. It danced and swooped high in the sky with astonishing grace. What fascinated me was his hands. He didn't have a motorized reel, just a simple, worn wooden spool. The string was taut, vibrating in the wind. I asked him the secret to such control. He said, "Most people think you control the kite by pulling it. That is wrong. You control it by feeling it. The string must be taut. If it goes slack, you have lost connection, the kite will fall. If you pull too hard, you fight the wind, the kite will dive or break. The art is in maintaining just enough tension to feel every shift in the wind, through the string, in your fingertips. You are not pulling the kite. You are in a conversation with the sky, through the string. The kite flies itself. Our relationship with life, and with our own inner states, is often one of either slackness or violent pulling. We either disengage, go numb, let the string go slack, avoidance, dissociation, or we yank hard, trying to force an outcome or suppress a feeling, control, suppression. The balanced state, the state of inner space, is like the perfectly taut string. It is a state of vibrant, sensitive connection without force. You are fully present with your experience, the string is taut, feeling it intimately, but you are not trying to manipulate it, you are not pulling. When a strong wind of emotion arises, grief, rage, fear, you don't let go of the string, numb out. Nor do you yank on it, I shouldn't feel this. Change now. You simply feel the tension increase. You feel the vibration in your hands, in your body, your heart. You stay in the conversation. You feel the pull, and you adjust your stance just enough to maintain connection, to keep the kite aloft. You allow the emotion to fly in the sky of your awareness, felt but not directed. This taut connection is presence. It is the willingness to feel what is true without being overthrown by it. The kite is your lived experience. The sky is the vastness of awareness. Your attentive, embodied presence is the string. The vital link that allows for a dynamic, graceful dance between the two. The fear of feeling is the fear of the string breaking. But the master knows the string is strongest when it is used to feel, not to force. Your resilience is built in the subtle, constant feedback of that taut, listening connection. The mind is a meaning-making machine. It cannot tolerate the unexplained. When faced with a deep feeling, a life event, or a period of inner silence, its first and most compulsive action is to understand it. To label it, to slot it into a story, to answer the question, why? This drive for cognitive understanding is often mistaken for insight, and its absence is mistaken for failure. We believe that if we can just understand why we feel anxious, why a tragedy happened, why we are the way we are, then we will be free of the suffering. So we analyze, we therapize, we spiritualize. We turn our lives into a detective story where the mind is the detective, and peace is the prize for solving the case. But what if some things, especially the deepest movements of life and spirit, are not meant to be solved in this way? What if the relentless demand for understanding is itself a form of resistance, a way the mind maintains control and avoids the raw, unmediated experience of what is? Inner space invites a radical surrender. The surrender of the need to understand. This is not anti-intellectual. It is meta-intellectual. It is the recognition that the knowing mind is a subset of a larger, non-conceptual intelligence. You can know the chemical formula of water, H2O, but that conceptual knowing does not quench your thirst, nor does it capture the experience of drinking, of swimming, of rain on your face. Healing often happens in the gap where understanding stops. A traumatic memory may resolve not when you've finally constructed the perfect narrative about it, but in a moment of quiet, feeling presence where the body finally feels safe enough to release the held sensation, without the story. An insight may arise not from analysis, but from a quiet mind, as a wordless aha that later the mind dresses in words. This surrender is an act of profound trust. It is trusting that life is intelligible on its own terms, terms that may include mystery, paradox, and the ineffable. It is trusting your own capacity to be with experience without needing to translate it into a neat mental package. In the space of surrender, something more reliable than understanding emerges: intimacy. When you stop trying to figure out your sadness and simply feel the hollow, heavy sensation in your chest, you become intimate with it. You know it in the way you know the texture of a loved one's hand, not through facts, but through direct, felt contact. This intimacy is what transforms. It allows the energy to move, the knot to loosen, the heart to soften. Understanding often keeps things at a safe, cerebral distance. Intimacy allows for integration. So, when you sit in silence and the mind clamors, what is this? What does it mean? What am I supposed to be getting? See if you can offer the gentle reply. I don't need to know. I can just be here with this. In that humble, open not knowing, you make room for a wisdom deeper than knowledge to find you. In a village in Bali, I observed the tuning of a gamelan orchestra. A gamelan is not tuned to a universal standard like a piano. Each set of bronze gongs and metallophones is painstakingly tuned to itself, to create a unique, shimmering sonic universe for that specific orchestra. The tuner, an elderly man with hearing like a bat, did not use a digital tuner. He used a small hammer and his ear. He would strike a key, then close his eyes and listen, not just to the pitch, but to the space around the sound, the overtones, the decay, the way it interacted with the hum of the village. He would then make a microscopic filing or adjustment and strike again. This could go on for an hour for a single note. He was not chasing perfection defined from outside. He was listening for the point of right relationship within the whole. He was tuning the instrument to the silence that would hold it, and to the other instruments it would play with. He told me, if I tune it only to itself, it will be proud and lonely. It will clash. If I tune it only to the others, it will lose its own voice. I must tune it to the silence between the notes. That is the true conductor. Our lives are often spent trying to tune ourselves to an external standard. Societal expectations, parental wishes, the success stories of others. We file ourselves down to fit a pitch that is not our own, and we feel a constant, subtle clash. Or, we become proud and lonely, tuning only to our own isolated frequency, which creates dissonance in our relationships. The inner work is the work of the gamelan tuner. You are learning to tune your being, your thoughts, emotions, actions. Not to an external ideal, but to the internal silence between the notes, which is your own aware presence. You are finding your right relationship to the whole of your experience. This tuning is delicate, iterative, and requires deep listening. It means adjusting your responses, filing down reactivity, until they resonate cleanly with the situation at hand, not with your conditioned patterns. It means finding the note of your authentic voice that can harmonize with others without being subsumed by them. The silence between the notes, your spacious awareness, is the true conductor. When you are tuned to that, your actions arise in harmony with the moment. You are neither rigidly independent nor slavishly dependent. You are in resonant relationship with life itself. The music that results is uniquely yours, yet it contributes to a greater, more beautiful harmony than you could have planned. A subtle but pernicious trap on any inner path is the creation of a new hierarchy. We start to rank our inner states: peace is good, anxiety is bad. Silence is advanced, thinking is primitive. Presence is spiritual, distraction is a failure. We subtly believe there is a better state to be in than the one we are currently in. This recreates the same striving, self-rejection, and sense of lack we were trying to heal. The space of true awareness holds no hierarchy. It is radically democratic. A thought is not inferior to silence, it is a modulation of awareness. Anxiety is not a mistake, it is a particular flavor of aliveness. Joy and sorrow are equal guests in the house of presence. This is not a bland anything-goes relativism. It is the clear seeing that all phenomena are made of the same stuff. Consciousness itself, appearing in different forms. From the sky's perspective, a thundercloud and a clear blue sky are equally the sky. One is not better. One may be more pleasant for a picnic, but both are authentic expressions of the atmosphere. When you identify as the sky, awareness, you stop preferring one weather pattern over another. You meet each with the same open, allowing presence. This ends the civil war within. You are no longer fighting your anxiety, trying to replace it with peace. You are simply aware of the anxiety as a happening. In that non-resistant awareness, a natural relaxation often occurs. The anxiety may pass, or it may not, but the suffering, which was the tension between what is and what should be, dissolves. This is the essence of unconditional peace. It is peace that does not depend on the absence of challenge, but on the absence of resistance to experience. It is the peace of the ocean floor, unmoved by the storms on the surface. Practically, this means when you sit to meditate and your mind is frantic, you drop the goal of achieving a good meditation. You simply meet the franticness with interest. Ah, this is franticness. You are giving the inferior state the dignity of your full attention. Paradoxically, this is often the very thing that allows it to settle. But even if it doesn't, you haven't failed. You have successfully practiced unconditional presence, which is the whole point. By dissolving the inner hierarchy, you step off the ladder of spiritual achievement. You realize there is no higher state to reach. There is only this state, met fully. And in that full meeting, you are already free, regardless of the weather. In the silent, pre-dawn hours of Venice, I walked with an old night watchman on his final rounds. The city was asleep, the canals perfectly still. He stopped on a small bridge and pointed down. "Look now," he said. In the black water, the lighted windows of the palazzos, the stars, the moon, and the silhouettes of bridges were reflected with mirror-like perfection. The canal was not just water, it was a vast, dark eye, seeing and holding the entire city. During the day, he whispered, with the boats and the noise, the water is all chop and broken pieces. You see only fragments, confusion. But now, in the stillness, it becomes whole. It remembers it can hold the whole sky. He paused. People are like this. In the noise of the day, you see only pieces of yourself, a thought, a worry, a role. But in the stillness of your own night, you can become the canal. You can hold the whole reflection without breaking it. Our daily awareness is like the choppy daytime canal. Stimuli, tasks, and internal chatter create constant ripples. We see ourselves and our lives in fragments. A reaction here, a plan there, a fragmented self-image. We believe these broken reflections are all we are. The practice of inner stillness is the return to the night watch. It is allowing the chop of mental activity to settle, so the water of your mind can become calm and deep. In that calm, you don't see more things, you see wholly. You see how all the fragments, your past, your roles, your desires, your fears, are reflected together in the single, vast medium of your awareness. They are not you, they are appearances in you, like the city in the canal. You are the canal, not the reflections. The reflections come and go, day and night, joy and sorrow, but the water that holds them remains. Your fear has been the fear of the stagnant, dark water. But the watchman saw its true nature, a capacity for profound, unbroken reflection, a holding of the entire world in peaceful unity. Your true power is not in controlling the reflections, but in becoming still and deep enough to contain them all, perfectly, without losing your nature. The mind craves conclusion. It wants to tie experiences up with a neat bow, to have a final answer, to say, this is what that meant, and now it's over. This is how it creates a manageable, if fictional, sense of order. We do this with relationships. It ended because he was selfish. With failures, I didn't get the job because I'm not good enough, and even with our spiritual progress, I had a breakthrough, so now I am X. But life is not a series of concluded chapters. It is a continuous, flowing narrative where meanings shift, understandings deepen, and so-called endings become the seeds of new beginnings. The mind's demand for final conclusion is a demand for death, for the living process to stop so it can be catalogued. Inner space cultivates the radical ability to live with no conclusion. This means allowing an experience, a painful memory, a period of confusion, a great joy, to remain alive, unresolved, and potent in your awareness, without the mind's final verdict. It is the difference between pressing a wildflower in a book, conclusion. It is a specimen labeled past joy, and letting it grow in the meadow of your heart, where it may wilt, seed, or transform, but remains part of the living ecosystem. This is incredibly powerful for healing. Trauma often gets locked in a concluded story. This bad thing happened, it defined me, and it's over, but it ruined me. Healing occurs when that story is allowed to unconclude, when the memory is revisited not as a frozen fact, but as a sensation and emotion that is still alive in the nervous system, and can now, in the safe space of present awareness, complete its natural cycle of discharge and integration. To live with no conclusion is to remain open to the mystery of your own becoming. It is to look at a flaw in your character and instead of concluding, I am just this way, to wonder, how is this pattern serving me? What is it protecting? How might it change if I meet it with space instead of judgment? It turns problems into inquiries, and failures into data points in an ongoing experiment called your life. This doesn't lead to passivity or indecision. You still make choices, end relationships, and learn lessons. But you make them from a place of present moment clarity, not from the rigid, concluded stories of the past. You hold your understanding lightly, knowing it is provisional, always subject to the deeper knowing that comes from the open space of not knowing. You trade the brittle safety of conclusions for the vibrant, unsettling, and infinitely creative safety of the unfolding mystery. In a dusty alley in the Marrakesh Medina, I found a craftsman making rope by hand. The process was ancient and hypnotic. He had strands of hemp fibers lying loosely parallel. He attached one end to a hook and began walking backwards, twisting the entire bundle with a steady, relentless turn of a hand crank. As he twisted, the loose fibers began to bite into each other. The twist created tension, and the tension caused the fibers to grip one another. What was a bundle of separate, weak threads became, through the controlled application of twist, a single, strong, flexible rope. He explained, the strength is not in any one fiber. A single fiber breaks easily. The strength is in the twist, in the tension that makes them all hold each other. But, he warned, holding up a finished rope, you must stop at the right moment. Too little twist, and it is weak. Too much twist, he said, twisting a section beyond its limit until it kinked and frayed, and it becomes brittle. It will snap under the first real load. The perfect rope has tension, but it also has give. Our sense of self is often like a poorly made rope. With too little twist, a lack of conscious attention and integration, we feel like a loose bundle of disparate impulses, easily pulled apart by conflicting desires or external pressures. We lack coherence. So we overcompensate. We apply too much twist. We create a rigid, brittle identity through extreme ideologies, uncompromising self-discipline, or a fixed story about who we are. This feels strong, but it has no give. When life applies pressure, change, criticism, loss, this brittle rope of self snaps, leading to crisis, breakdown, or fanaticism. The practice of inner space is the art of the rope maker. It is applying the right amount of conscious twist, the integrating power of aware presence, to the loose fibers of your experience. This conscious attention draws your sensations, thoughts, and feelings into a coherent whole, creating a functional identity with strength and purpose. But the master knows the crucial part, to stop. The space, the silence, the allowance, this is the give in the rope. It is the humility that prevents the twist from becoming pathological, that keeps the identity flexible, responsive, and resilient. Your strength comes not from rigidly holding a form, but from the dynamic tension between conscious integration, the twist of attention, and spacious allowance, the give of awareness. You become a rope that can bear great weight precisely because it can also bend and sway. Now, let us integrate this journey not with more words, but by turning attention inward, to the direct experience that has been our subject all along. Pause, slow and gentle tone. If you are able, close your eyes. Let your body find a posture of dignified ease, sitting or lying down. Allowing the spine to be tall but not rigid, the muscles to soften around the bones. Bring your attention to the sensation of breathing. Not to change the breath, but to feel it, the cool air entering, the warm air leaving, the rise and fall of the chest or belly. Now, expand your awareness, to include the whole body, feeling it as a single, living field of sensation, weight, temperature, vibration. Now, include the space around the body, the air touching the skin, the sounds in the room, near and far, let them be, as they are, arriving in this open field of awareness. Now, notice thoughts. See them as events, like birds crossing the sky of your mind. You don't have to follow them, or stop them. Just see them appear, and disappear, back into the space from which they came. Rest as this space, this aware presence, that is hearing these words. That is feeling the body, that is knowing the thoughts. This is what you are. Not the thoughts, not the sensations, but the open, intelligent, silent space that holds them. If any fear or resistance arises, meet it as a guest in this space. Offer it the same open attention. Ah, here is fear, feel its texture, its location, without fighting it, without becoming it. You are the room, and all experiences are simply moving through. Rest here, as this, for the next few moments. Long pause, 60 seconds of silence. Gently, as you are ready, bring your attention back to the physical body, to the feeling of the surface beneath you, to the sounds in the room. Carry this feeling of spacious presence with you, as you move into the rest of your day, and your life. You've traveled a long way in this listening. From the Clockwork Orchestra of Vienna to the fog nets of the Atacama, from the dry stone dikes of Scotland to the still canals of Venice. We have met the manager, the social negotiator, the frantic seeker, and we have learned to see them not as enemies, but as devoted, if misguided, protectors of a self that was always more spacious than they knew. The heart of it all is simple, though not always easy. The space you feared was not your enemy, but your essence. It was the wholeness you sought in fragments, the safety you tried to build with walls, the peace you chased in future achievements. This is not a one-time discovery, but a lifelong homecoming. Some days you will forget. You will get lost in the story, identified with the weather, tightening the rope too much. And then, a breath, a pause, a glance at the sky, you will remember. You will choose the space again. This is the practice. Not perfection, but return. Not conclusion, but continuous, gentle unfolding. If this exploration has been a sanctuary for you, a reminder of the sky within, consider subscribing to Monk's Temple. It is an invitation to keep returning to this space of shared listening and remembering. Thank you for your profound courage in listening. For turning toward the silence. For choosing, again and again, the space that heals. Go in peace. Along the rugged coast of Big Sur, California, a marine ecologist taught me about tide pools. These are transient worlds, formed when the ocean recedes at low tide, trapping pockets of water in rocky basins. For a few hours, they exist as isolated, miniature ecosystems. You can find starfish, anemones, scuttling crabs, and tiny fish, all suddenly separated from the vastness of the open sea. "People think these creatures are trapped," she said, kneeling by a glistening pool. "But look closer." She pointed to an anemone, its tentacles waving in the still water. "It is not waiting for the sea to return. It is being the sea, right here, in this form. The water in this pool is not different water. It is the same ocean, just appearing as a pool for a little while. When the tide returns, there is no reunion, because there was never a true separation. We feel like tide pool creatures. We believe our individual awareness is a temporary, isolated pocket, tragically separated from the vast ocean of being. We long for reunion, for enlightenment, for a return to oneness. This longing can feel like a sacred homesickness, but it is also rooted in the fundamental mistake of separation. The practice of inner space is the quiet realization that you are not the creature in the pool. You are the water. And the water in your pool is the same water, the same aware presence, that constitutes the entire ocean. Your body-mind is the temporary, beautifully formed pool. Your thoughts and feelings are the creatures within it. But your essence, the conscious, feeling presence reading these words, is the water itself, inseparable from the whole. The fear of emptiness is the fear that the tide will never return, that you will be left as a shrinking, stagnant puddle. But from the water's perspective, there is no coming or going. There is only appearing as a pool, and then appearing as the open sea. Form changes, essence does not. When you rest in awareness, you are tasting the ocean in your own mouth. You are realizing your apparent separation is a graceful, temporary form that the infinite has taken to experience itself as a starfish, an anemone, a human heart. The healing comes not when the pool is refilled, but when you recognize you were never just the pool to begin with. We are taught that maturity means taking ownership of our actions, our mistakes, our successes, our identities. Take ownership of your life, is a common rallying cry. But there is a hidden burden in this: we also take ownership of our suffering. My anxiety, my depression, my traumatic past. This ownership, while seeming responsible, can cement the suffering into a permanent fixture of me. Inner space introduces a subtle but revolutionary shift, the move from ownership to intimacy without possession. You can be intimately acquainted with a feeling without claiming it as mine. You can witness a thought without believing it defines you. Think of watching a compelling, sad film. You may feel deep grief for the characters. The feeling is real, powerful, and intimate. But you do not leave the theater saying, "I now own this grief. It is my tragic story." The grief visited you, moved through you, and released you. It was an experience you had, not a possession you acquired. Your inner life can be met with the same quality of engaged but non-possessive intimacy. The anxiety is not yours, it is a storm of energy passing through the field of your awareness. The critical thought is not your flaw, it is a mental pattern appearing on the screen of consciousness. This is not irresponsibility. In fact, it allows for clearer responsibility. If a negative thought is not you, you are free to examine it without defense or shame. You can see, This is the "I'm not good enough" program running, and choose not to enact it, because you are not identified as the program. Action becomes cleaner, less burdened by the sticky residue of personal drama. This unbearable lightness can feel unsettling at first. We are so used to the weight of our stories that their absence feels like floating. The mind may scramble to grab back onto something heavy and familiar. But in this lightness, there is immense freedom and energy. The energy once used to maintain and defend your collection of own suffering is freed up for creativity, connection, and simple presence. You are no longer a curator of a museum of pain. You are a spacious, alive field, experiencing the ever-changing weather of life with curiosity and an open heart. Inside the iconic Sydney Opera House, I met an acoustic engineer responsible for maintaining its world-famous sound. She didn't just adjust speakers. Her most important tool, she said, was silence. Before a concert, she would have the hall emptied and sealed. Then, in the profound quiet, she would clap her hands once, sharply. "I'm not listening to the clap," she explained. "I'm listening to what happens after. I'm measuring the reverberation time, how long it takes for the sound to decay into absolute silence. That, after silence, is everything. If it's too short, the music sounds dead, flat. If it's too long, it becomes a muddy echo, each note blurring into the next. The perfect hall has a precise, golden reverberation. The silence doesn't end the music, it finishes it. It gives each note its space to be fully heard, and to complete itself. Our minds are concert halls with terrible acoustics. Our thoughts and emotions clap and bang endlessly, but we have lost the skill of listening to the reverberation, to the after silence. We either have a dead hall mindset, numbing out, suppressing, making our inner world feel flat and lifeless. Or we have a muddy hall, where thoughts echo and blur into each other, creating a chaotic, indecipherable noise of worry, planning, and regret. The practice of inner silence is the work of the acoustic engineer. You are learning to value the space after the thought. You clap, a thought arises, and instead of immediately clapping again, jumping to the next thought, you listen. You feel the reverberation of that thought as a sensation in the body, and you follow it all the way to its decay into silence. In that intentional after silence, clarity is born. The thought is fully heard, its energy is allowed to complete its cycle, and it doesn't bleed into the next one. Your inner experience stops being a muddy roar and starts to have the clean, distinct, beautiful quality of well-spaced notes in a perfect hall. The sadness has its moment, fully felt, then dissolves into silence, making room for the next note of experience, perhaps joy, perhaps quiet contentment, to be heard purely. You are tuning the reverberation time of your own awareness. You are learning that the value of a note is defined by the silence that holds it. We are not just thinking beings, we are narrating beings. Beneath the surface of explicit thoughts runs a constant, subtle stream of internal propaganda. It's the voice that spins events to make us look good, to ourselves, that justifies our actions, that rewrites history to avoid shame, and that constantly promotes the brand of me. This is internal marketing. Its job is to sell a consistent, favorable, and secure self-image to ourselves. This narrator is the master of the highlight reel and the shrewd editor of the blooper reel. It is deeply invested in maintaining the fiction of a stable, knowable, and inherently right, or tragically wronged, protagonist. This constant spin is exhausting. It creates a low-grade psychic friction, as reality constantly threatens to contradict the preferred narrative. Inner space creates a scandal in the marketing department. When you rest as the silent awareness behind the narration, you start to hear the spin for what it is. You hear the subtle embellishment, the omission, the justification. It's like being in the control room of a radio station and suddenly hearing the producer giving directions to the host, "Quick, make us sound more compassionate. Edit out that moment of neediness." This witnessing is not judgmental. It is curious. It sees the internal marketer not as a liar, but as a terrified employee trying desperately to keep a failing product, the separate self, on the shelves. The marketer fears that if the spin stops, the product will be seen as worthless, and the company, the ego, will go bankrupt. The miracle occurs when the awareness, the silent owner of the company, stops buying the marketing. You stop needing the story to be a certain way. You can look directly at a failure, a selfish act, a moment of cowardice, without the narrator rushing in to explain, blame, or reframe. You see the raw data of experience. In that honest seeing, without the spin, something relaxes. The frantic energy of the marketing department winds down. What emerges is authenticity. Not a curated, authentic brand, but the unadorned, sometimes messy, truth of the present moment. You can say, "I was afraid," without adding, "but it was because of my difficult childhood," or, "and I overcame it." The fear is just fear. It can be felt, and it can pass, without becoming a chapter in the epic saga of you. This is the grace of no longer being your own public relations agent. The energy saved is tremendous. You can finally put down the burden of selling yourself to yourself, and simply be the inexplicable, ever-changing, and fundamentally acceptable reality that you are. Deep within the Vatican museums, I witnessed the painstaking work of a fresco restorer. She worked on a section of a Raphael loggia, where centuries of grime, candle smoke, and well-intentioned but damaging past repairs had obscured the original colors and lines. Her tools were cotton swabs, distilled water, and microscopic scalpels. She explained her philosophy: "I am not a painter. I do not add a single new brushstroke. My entire work is reductive. I remove what does not belong, the dirt, the yellowed varnish, the clumsy retouching. The art is already here, complete, underneath. My job is one of revelation, through patient subtraction. If I come with my own idea of how Raphael should look, I will damage it. I must be humble before the original." We approach our own minds like bad restorers. We see the grime of old pain, the discoloration of tired beliefs, and we rush to paint over it. We add new philosophies, affirmations, positive thinking, new brushstrokes atop the old, creating a confusing, inauthentic overlay. We try to create a masterpiece by addition, guided by our idea of how we should be. The journey of healing and awakening is the work of the fresco restorer. It is reductive. The peace, the clarity, the love, they are not new qualities to be painted on. They are the original, pristine masterpiece of your innate awareness, obscured by layers of conditioned thinking, emotional reactivity, and self-concepts, the grime and varnish. Your practices of silence, self-inquiry, and mindful awareness are the cotton swabs and gentle solvents. They are not adding something foreign. They are, with infinite patience and humility, dissolving what does not belong. Each moment where you see a reactive thought as just a thought, and not truth, is a swipe that clears a tiny patch of the original sky blue pigment. Each time you feel an emotion fully without adding a story, you remove a layer of sooty varnish from the figure of your own heart. You are not becoming someone new. You are being restored to who you have always been, beneath the accumulations of a lifetime. The fear is that if you remove the overpainting, you will find a blank wall. The restorer's faith is that you will find a Raphael. Boredom is one of the most universally feared and avoided states in the modern world. We interpret it as a sign of deficiency, a boring person in a boring situation. We reach for our phones, for stimulation, for anything to escape the empty stretch of time. But from the perspective of inner space, boredom is not an enemy, it is a sacred threshold. Boredom is what happens when the external world fails to distract you, and the internal marketing has run out of compelling material. It is the feeling of the mind's engine idling, with no gear engaged. The mind hates this. It interprets the lack of engagement as a threat, as meaningless. But what if boredom is the mind's withdrawal symptoms from constant stimulation? What if it is the fertile fallow field, necessary for new growth? In nature, a field cannot be planted year after year without rest. It must lie fallow to restore its nutrients. Boredom is your psychic fallow field. It is the space where the compulsive seeking for the next interesting thing finally burns out. In the emptiness of that burnout, something else can emerge, curiosity for its own sake, a noticing of subtle sensations, the birth of an original thought that isn't a reaction to something else. When you feel bored and immediately reach for a distraction, you are refusing the fallow period. You are trying to plant another crop in exhausted soil. The result is more mental depletion, more shallowness. The practice is to sit with boredom. To feel the restless, itchy energy in the body. To notice the mind's frantic casting about for a hook. And to not feed it. To simply let the field be fallow. In that allowance, the restlessness itself becomes an object of interest. Ah, this is what restlessness feels like. You become a naturalist of your own boredom. From this deep, unstimulated place, creativity often sprouts. Not as a forced effort, but as a spontaneous green shoot from well-rested ground. Insight arises. A sense of simple being, free from the need to be entertained, settles in. You reclaim boredom from the realm of pathology and return it to its rightful place as a necessary, rich, and deeply creative phase of the human cycle. It is not the absence of meaning, it is the space where original meaning is born. In the profound silence of the Ryoan-ji temple in Kyoto, I sat before the ultimate expression of emptiness, the Karasansui, or dry rock garden. 15 rocks of varying sizes are arranged in small groups on a perfectly raked bed of white gravel. There is no water, no plants, only stone and gravel. The design is such that from any vantage point, at least one rock is always hidden from view. The head monk explained its purpose. People come seeking meaning. What do the rocks represent? Islands? Tigers? A cosmic diagram? This is the mind's game. The garden is not a puzzle to be solved. It is a mirror for the mind. If your mind is busy, you see only rocks and patterns. You think, you analyze, you get frustrated. If your mind becomes still, something else happens. The space between the rocks becomes alive. The raked lines are not separate from the rocks. The entire arrangement breathes. You stop seeing things and start experiencing relationship, balance, and the immense peace of the unadorned ground. The hidden rock reminds you that the whole can never be grasped by the seeing eye alone, it must be felt by the quiet mind. We spend our lives looking at the rocks of our experience, our problems, our joys, our goals. We analyze their meaning, their arrangement, trying to solve the puzzle of our life to achieve a final, clear picture. This is the busy mind at Ryo-N-Ji, counting rocks and missing the garden. The practice of inner space is the act of sitting before the rock garden of your own being. You stop trying to figure out what each rock, thought, feeling, event, means. You stop trying to see all the rocks at once, to have complete self-knowledge. Instead, you rake the gravel of your awareness into stillness. You allow the rocks to simply be, in their mysterious arrangement. In that stillness, the space between. The silent, aware presence, becomes palpable. It is no longer a blank background. It is the substance that holds the forms, the unity that makes the separate rocks part of a whole. You feel the relationship, the balance, the profound rightness of what is, even when it includes pain or confusion. The hidden rock, the part of you that can never be objectified, the mysterious source of awareness, is honored by your not seeking. The garden is not meant to be understood. It is meant to be sat with, until the seer dissolves into the seeing, and all that remains is the serene, boundless landscape of being itself. Your life, with all its jagged rocks and raked lines of effort, is already this perfect, incomprehensible garden. Healing is the shift from analyzing the rocks to resting as the gravel. We are taught to fear impermanence. It is the thief of youth, the end of relationships, the shadow behind every joy. This too shall pass, is often uttered as a consolation for pain, but it is whispered as a threat to happiness. We build our lives as fortresses against change, and we suffer immensely when the walls are inevitably breached. Inner space offers a radical reframe. Impermanence is not the problem, it is the very mechanism of liberation. It is the engine of aliveness. Without it, there would be no movement, no growth, no story, no fresh breath. Think of a symphony. If a single note were held forever, it would cease to be music, it would become a torture. The beauty, the emotion, the meaning of the symphony depend entirely on the passing of notes. The sadness of the adagio is beautiful because it moves, it swells and fades. The triumph of the finale is thrilling because it emerges from what came before and then completes itself. Your life is that symphony. A feeling of grief is a movement. A year of contentment is a movement. A moment of ecstasy is a single, brilliant note. To cling to any one note is to kill the music. The practice of spacious awareness is learning to listen to the symphony without clutching the conductor's stand. It is to appreciate the poignant beauty of the passing note, precisely because it passes. This is not a passive resignation to loss. It is an active, unsentimental engagement with the flow of experience. It finds joy not in spite of impermanence, but within it. The joy is in the flowing, not in the frozen. When you deeply know that your very sense of self is impermanent, a shifting pattern of memory, sensation, and thought, a great burden lifts. You no longer have to defend a fortress that is, by nature, made of sand. You can live in a tent, beautifully, knowing the landscape will change and you will move with it. Your security is no longer in the durability of the form, but in your adaptability, in your capacity to be the conscious space that witnesses all forms arising and dissolving. This is the ultimate healing from the fear of death, not the promise of an afterlife, but the realization that the essence of what you are, awareness, is the space in which the drama of life and death unfolds. It is not subject to birth and death, it is their witness. You are not the note. You are the silence that makes the music possible. We have walked through many landscapes together, cities of thought, deserts of longing, forests of emotion, and the vast, open skies of awareness. We have met the craftsman of the soul, the librarian, the potter, the rope maker, the fresco restorer. Each offered a key, not to a foreign kingdom, but to the forgotten rooms of your own palace. The central truth, repeated in 1,000 forms, is this: you are not the content of your life. You are the container. You are not the noise, but the silence that hears it. Not the wave, but the ocean that bears it. Not the figure in the tapestry, but the loom on which it is woven. This is not a distant, mystical reality. It is your immediate experience, the second you pause the search and feel the searcher. The space you feared was not a predator in the jungle, but the jungle itself, the alive, intelligent, nurturing context of all that happens. The path forward is not a steep climb, but a gentle remembering. It is the daily, patient practice of pausing the narration to taste the silence. Of feeling the bodily sensation beneath the story. Of noticing the sky behind the weather of your mood. Some days, you will remember easily. The space will feel like home. Other days, you will forget entirely, lost in a compelling drama. This is not failure. This is the human dance. Each moment of forgetting is an invitation to remember again, more gently, with more compassion for the part of you that got lost. So take this knowing not as a final achievement, but as a trusted companion. Let it walk beside you. When you are tight with worry, let it whisper, "You are the space for this worry." When you are radiant with joy, let it whisper, "You are the space for this joy." In boredom, in grief, in love, in quiet Tuesday afternoons. You are the ever-present, ever-welcoming space. There is nothing to become that you are not already. No healing to receive that does not already flow from your own presence. The journey ends where it began, in the miraculous, ordinary fact of your aware being, here, now. Thank you for your profound courage in listening. For turning toward the truth of your own nature. For choosing, in this shared time, the space that holds all things, heals all wounds, and is, itself, the peace you have been seeking. Go in peace, live in openness, and remember who you are.